Hello, Adolfo from Portainer here. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to add an Azure ACI instance to Portainer as an endpoint. So let's start by making sure we have a resource group. You need at least one. I'm going to call this one ACI demo. Let's create it. And we have a resource group. Now we're going to go to Azure Active Directory and register an app. The registration of the app, we can call it ACI demo also. You don't need to change anything here. And we need to store 3 variables here that are important to be able to connect the Azure ACI instance to Portainer as an endpoint. The first one is the application ID. So what I usually do is I copy and paste these values onto a text editor. The second variable you need is the directory ID or tenant ID. And the final one is the secret. So let's create a secret for this application so we can access this application from Portainer. You don't need to add a description. All you need to do is click on new client secret, add it, and let's copy this value here, which is the secret that is going to be used to connect to Portainer. And now we have to give this application a role, a contributor role. So let's go to subscriptions. Click on the subscription that you're using for this application. In my case, I only have this one, Visual Studio Enterprise. Access control. Let's add a role as a contributor. You don't need to change the assign access to. All you have to do is type in your application name. And there you go, ACI demo. Save. So now, via this application that's been registered, we can manage ACI instances via Portainer. There's one last thing though, you want to make sure is registered, and this is under resource providers in your subscription. Make sure this resource is registered, and that is Microsoft.ContainerInstance. If it's not, just click on register here. You'll see the register button. It'll take like 3 minutes, and there we go. So from an Azure perspective, we're done. We've done all that we need to do. Let's go to Portainer, and let's add an endpoint. And the endpoint will be the Azure Microsoft ACI Azure endpoint. Let's give it a name. ACI demo. And remember those variables that we stored? We kept in a text editor. We want to copy those and paste them here. So the first one is the application ID. The second one is the tenant ID. And the third one is the secret. So with these 3 strings, we can add the endpoint. If you have a group, you can assign it to a group if you wish. And there you go. It's been successfully created. So now let's demonstrate adding a container instance via the Azure endpoint that we just added here to Portainer. As you can see, 1 subscription, 1 resource group. Let's add the container. So when we click here and add container, you see the subscription, Visual Studio Enterprise, which is the one I have here already in Azure. The resource group that we created earlier. In terms of location, I prefer East US. Let's call this, for example, web server. Let's use Nginx Alpine because it's nice to demonstrate. You'll see why very soon. And the ports are fine, 8080. For the purpose of the demonstration, these resources are fine. Let's deploy this container. And there we go. Look at this. Very quick. We have here a container image or an ACI, Azure Container Instance called Web Server. Let's go to our Azure portal. Let's see if it's there. Let's see, container instances. Here it is, Web Server. If I click here, there we go. We have Nginx up and running very nicely. Now, it's important to clarify that there are some limitations in this endpoint deployment. Those are that for now, we cannot manage any persistent storage or private networking. But these will be resolved very soon. So hang on tight, stay tuned. Very soon we will have these limitations fixed in our future releases. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.